What is up, guys? Rickackis here, and this is the final Division Beta loot update. This is going to be going over all of the loot, or at least the notable loot that I have attained in the Division Beta, going over kind of where I found it, the best places to get loot within the game, and just stuff to look out for when the full game releases. So first of all, before I get started, take a look at the awesome dynamic weather and lighting system. Happens to be nighttime with a light snowfall, and this game just looks so good. Like, it's just awesome that I could be here tomorrow in this exact same spot and it'll be totally different weather, like just bright with no weather at all or a full blizzard, and I just really appreciate that about this game. In any event, let's get started with the actual loot update. Now, first things first, let's go over armor. Now, my armor really hasn't changed too much, but I did find that it's actually more difficult than I thought it would be choosing armor for the game. You know, I kind of made it so that I spec'd myself in terms of firearms and stamina. I really wanted to exemplify those two skills and really didn't worry too much about skill power. The reason being is because I was using pulse and healing, and so I wasn't really too concerned with skill power. I was in the dark zone a lot, and so obviously I was really concerned about just doing a ton of damage and having a lot of health. But again, the armor actually is a little bit more difficult than I thought it would be, just because you really do need to keep track of your different ratings, firearms, stamina, electronics, because when we go into the weapons later on, all of the weapon perks require, certain stuff. So you get this awesome gun, but if you want its perks to be active, you need to have, electronics, or sometimes you need to have a ton of firearms. And so you really are often, I found that I really have a reliance on armor more than I thought I would, and I now like to have multiple armor pieces, like these two holsters, with different combinations. So if I want stamina, I spec into this holster, but if I want that skill power, I can spec back into this holster. So I often keep, again, multiple armor pieces on board so I can switch in between them, which is a great thing for customization and variety within the game. Did buy this mil-spec mask, plus 132 health, so I've also found out that you can get armor that increases health without increasing stamina, which is kind of interesting. It basically makes it so that, I don't know how it makes it. It's just a really interesting thing. You don't always have to increase stamina. Some things like this mask just come with a pure increase to health, and then the actual stats, it only increases the firearms. So I thought that was pretty interesting. It is the only purple piece of armor I had, because I bought this mask from a vendor within the Dark Zone. All of the purple gear is the same with that. You can only buy it from Dark Zone vendors, at least in the beta version. In terms of the blues, those were all things I just found around the environment. And what I said in the last loot update, that the best ways to get loot was firstly definitely the Dark Zone. Going in and killing AI enemies in the Dark Zone. Whenever you'd kill a boss, which was amongst a group of AI enemies, that would be by far, like, they were guaranteed to drop usually 2 blues. So just going and killing a few of those in the Dark Zone would be the best way overall to get loot within the game. However, you really do want to squad up for the Dark Zone, and if you don't have a squad available, if you're just solo, the best way I found to get loot in a PvE aspect was definitely just replaying that Madison Field Hospital mission. If you replayed it, you could select the difficulty and change it to hard, which made it so that upon completion you'd get a guaranteed blue item, and the enemies were a lot harder, and they would drop better loot along the way. So if you're in PvP, if you're okay with doing Dark Zone stuff, that's definitely overall the best way to get loot, period. However, if you don't have a squad, you don't want to go into the Dark Zone, just replaying missions that give you those guaranteed items is also a great way to get loot as well, again, from a PvE standpoint. So that's pretty much it for armor. Let's go on to the weapons. And the main weapon I was always using was definitely the Caduceus. The Caduceus was just my absolute go-to. This thing is absolutely insane. It's the high-end weapon. I did a full video on that, so I'll link that in the description if you guys want to check it out. I did a full video on this gold or high-end weapon along with the Cassidy. The Cassidy is the high-end double-barrel shotgun. And the Caduceus is miles above the Cassidy in terms of effectiveness, but the Cassidy is still a fun gun to use, and again, did a whole video on that. I'll link that in the description. But kind of find out that you know, when you have these high-end weapons, you can see they come with 3 talents, and 2 of which are just kind of normal talents that I suppose you can get on other guns. And you can see both of them, I kind of, none of them are active because I decide to unspec out of skill power. So that's kind of the negative of what I was talking about. Additionally, the last talent for these high-end weapons, in this case self-preserved, where you heal yourself for a little bit every headshot you get, those are unique talents specific to these high-end weapons. Like the Caduceus comes with self-preserved, no other gun comes with self-preserved. I think that's really cool, exactly like exotic weapons in Destiny. I wasn't sure before, but judging by the fact that actually if you go down and self-preserved doesn't require anything like any other talents, require different, require firearms or stamina, self-preserved does not. And additionally, the Cassidy has kind of the same thing. It has 2 normal skills that require different points and different things, and then it has Meticulous. Killing a target has 11.5% chance to instantly refill the magazine, and that's another cool perk, but again, doesn't require anything, and it's gold lettering unique to the Cassidy. Now, one of the new things I bought with this MP7, this was available today, last day of the beta, and this thing absolutely just shreds through people. Absolutely shreds through people. And I'll be putting gameplay of it in the background. Very, very effective gun. Does a ton of damage. Like, it's 486 damage, which is pretty good considering 950 rounds per minute. That's pretty insane, but only a magazine size of 20. However, it does have a pretty cool perk called Meticulous. Killing a target has a 6.5% chance to instantly refill the magazine. Obviously good with a gun like the MP7 with a low magazine, in this case of 20. However, I was pretty intrigued that Meticulous actually requires you to have spec'd into firearms and stamina and electronics. Like, it requires different ratings of all 3 different stats, which I thought was pretty interesting. Now, for the purple weapons, it actually has a second talent as well. It has the skill talent. Headshot kills with this weapon increase signature skill resources by 3%. So I thought it was kind of interesting. So blue weapons, apparently they'll only come with 1 talent. Purple weapons will come with 2, essentially again perks. And then the gold weapons will come with 2 talents and then a unique talent. So I thought that was pretty cool as well. Also, just going over weapons, the variety of weapons, like I tried to have the greatest variety. And, for shotguns, for example, you go all the way from the Cassidy, which is the double barrel shotgun, 2 shots, then you've got to reload. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you've got this SAS G12, which is actually a magazine-fed shotgun. You can have 8 rounds in the magazine, which you can actually increase with a extended magazine attachment. You can shoot all 8 rounds, and then it reloads it all at once by reloading the magazine. And I actually thought this gun was very effective. I can't wait to see some high-end versions in the full game of this. So I like how there's a lot of differentiation within the gun types. Like, just with shotguns, you have the double barrel shotguns, you have the pump action shotguns, you have just the semi-automatic shotguns, you have magazine fed shotguns, again like this SAS G12. Maybe in the full game you'll even be able to get fully automatic shotguns like AA12s and stuff, especially when you're talking about high-end weapons as well. So just ton of variety there. I finally got to use this M249B light machine gun. You're seeing gameplay of it in the background, and damn, this thing has a lot of recoil. So I don't know, maybe I'm just missing something, but it doesn't seem like you can set this gun up in terms of like using a bipod or something. It just seems like the light machine guns, at least the ones I've tried, have just a ton of recoil. Interestingly enough though, they actually get more accurate as you keep shooting them. Like, the recoil is actually insane, but the actual hitbox, the little circle of where the bullets are going, decreases, gets more accurate, but it's more challenging to kind of put that little hitbox on the enemies. So it's kind of an interesting mechanic, but I feel like they just recoil too much compared to assault rifles. Like, everyone's so used to assault rifles. There's stuff like the AK-47, which is an all-around good assault rifle. There's stuff like the classic FAL, which is going to have a 3-round burst actually. And then there's just a bunch of just normal kind of fully automatic assault rifles as well. In terms of SMGs, I found that the SMGs are also pretty effective in the game. You have stuff like the MP7, which is again the classic fully automatic SMG, and something that also falls into this category, I got the tactical vector ACP, and that's another fully automatic SMG as well, just very effective at closer ranges. But then you have stuff like I have a burst fire MP5A4, so I don't even know what to make of that, because now you've got an SMG that's more focused kind of on accuracy and landing your shots with the burst fire version of it. So I thought that was really interesting as well. And then of course I went over marksman rifles in pretty decent detail in the first loot update. They haven't really changed as well, although it is interesting. You have a lot of the semi-automatic marksman's rifles. I guess at one end you would have the military Scar H, which is the first marksman's rifle, the blue marksman's rifle I got. You know, it's got a 20-round magazine, right? Like, it's kind of almost like an assault rifle, just a semi-automatic assault rifle. It does high damage. You've got something that's kind of in the middle with the classic M1A, does even more damage but only has a 10-round magazine. And then you've got something on the complete opposite end of the spectrum with the classic M44 carbine. Now that's going to be an actual bolt action, essentially sniper rifle, does massive headshot damage, but only has a 5-round magazine and a 55 round per minute shot. So it's really not shooting very fast. It's, again, like a sniper rifle, but it still falls into that marksman's rifle category. So there's still, again, a lot of differentiation within one category, which I really am enjoying with this game. Like, there's not just one shotgun, there's not just one marksman's rifle, there's not just one SMG, one assault rifle. The guns within the category feel very different from each other. So I'm very grateful, and I really am looking forward to the full game because of a lot of it because of this basis. Now let's take a look here. I'm going to play around with the good old Caduceus with the different mods I've gotten. So mods add another layer of differentiation and customization within the game. I actually have a purple mod I'll show you guys in a bit, but in terms of suppressors, all I got was suppressors, which is a little bit sad, I will say. I would have liked to get some more stuff other than just suppressors. They seem to always reduce threat. I did see a compensator, I think, a green compensator, but hopefully in the full game there'll be heavy barrels and just kind of other things than suppressors to put on the end of your gun. However, there is some decent customization between these different suppressors. Again, all of them reduce threat, but one increases the range, one increases the critical hit chance, one increases bullet stability. So, you'll see a common trend with these attachments, because I've gotten so many and I'm going to show them all off to you today, just kind of that you can really spec your gun in a certain way. You can spec it to have great damage output. You can spec it for accuracy and range, and I do like that factor a lot. Again, in terms of these underbarrel grips, this is mainly always going to have some degree of accuracy increase, but even this small grip, increases hipfire accuracy, which I think is pretty interesting. So if I'm hipfiring a gun a lot, that would be actually pretty good with a shotgun, I would think. And so you can get a bunch of these different types of grips as well. Magazines I actually found really interesting and a really huge factor in customization for your gun. Firstly, we have the traditional magazines, an increase to magazine size, and this one comes with a 3% critical hit chance. But a lot came with an increase to the rate of fire. I thought that was very interesting. So you're increasing your rate of fire as well, which is going to increase your damage output. The most interesting magazine I found was this heavy magazine spring, which is what I have equipped. A 6% damage increase. So we aren't messing with magazine size at all. We're just increasing damage and a rate of fire increase of almost 10%. That's, again, a very interesting thing. So with the magazine, you can just focus completely on damage output. With this one as well, I think is very interesting. It's not increasing magazine size, it's just increasing reload speed and rate of fire. We've got another one that, again, increases reload speed, but also increases critical hit damage. So we've got a lot of customization with magazines. By determining what magazine you choose can really just alter the characteristics of your gun dramatically. Like, a 10% rate of fire bonus is nothing to scoff at. That is pretty substantial. Now, here is the purple attachment that I have bought, and this is the Pro Red Dot Sight. Only MLG players like myself can equip it. Comes with a free 6-pack of Mountain Dew that just gets delivered to your door. But in any event, this is going to increase 5.5% headshot damage increase, 3% critical hit chance. You can see with this scope, this is spec'd out again for that damage output. If you want to do as much damage as possible, you'd put this type of scope on. I don't know why I said off. But then we go right down to the hollow sight, 4% optimal range, almost 5% accuracy. These are two totally different things, right? And it would be two different ways to spec your gun, and that's why I'm really enjoying the loot system in this game. If you've got a gun that is not very good accuracy, has a lot of recoil, you know, like that light machine gun, you might want to put on the hollow sight actually. You get that 4.5% accuracy increase, you know, or for an SMG, you might actually might want that increase in range. But if you have a gun like the Caduceus that has, you know, good overall stats, and you just want to increase the damage output, you want to do as much damage as possible, that's where you're going to use this purple Pro Red Dot sight. Unfortunately, you can see the Pro Red Dot sight, again, 5.5% headshot damage, 3% critical hit chance. If I go here to, I actually found these improved iron sights, 3.5% critical hit chance, 5% headshot damage. So I kind of bought the Pro Red Dot sight without really paying attention, because it turns out it's kind of the same as my improved iron sights. However, interestingly enough, if I was to go to the MP7 here, and if I wanted to mod it and I go to the optics, I can put on the Pro Red Dot sight, but I cannot put on the improved iron sights. The improved iron sights are actually an assault rifle specific attachment, which I think is very useful. Interesting, not useful, and it does make it so that the Pro Red Dot sight is more useful. That's what I was trying to say. So I can put the Pro Red Dot sight, get that damage increase out of my MP7, and stick to the improved iron sights for my assault rifles, and I thought that was pretty cool as well. So that's pretty much it. That's all my interesting and cool loot that I've gotten throughout the Division beta. A lot of things I think we've seen about the loot system. I hope there's more to come. I hope there's even more gun types we haven't seen. You know, hopefully in the full game you'll actually have a chance to get purple and gold items just in the environment, because that wasn't the case in the beta. However, it definitely makes sense that it wasn't the case in the beta. And I can't wait for this full game to come out, because what I've seen from the loot system just looks fantastic. So I hope you guys enjoyed this final loot update. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and sharing this video. Now, if you want to see more Division content, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. Now, if you want to get in touch with me, keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter. That's linked in the description of this video down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can follow as well. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day. And lastly, goodbye Division Beta, I'll miss you.